gone over why you debate, but you've done it in Japanese, correct? So we would like to do it in English so that we all are on a similar page and we all agree on things. So why do you think you debate? What is debate for?
In order to solve the problems
Okay.
with good ways.
Yes, to solve problems. That's a fantastic one. Did you have an answer?
Making a comparison, and in order to achieve better solution.
So yeah, to compare and contrast arguments to find the best option. That's another one.
Also to convince your partner by making your argument stronger with evidence.
Yes, exactly.
To
Yeah.
prove your point of view.
Yes, to prove your point to someone else to convince them that you're correct or you're the best option. Is anyone else?
So you see that often when we think about debate, we think in terms of politics. We think in terms of the way of things that the government should be doing or our representatives should be doing. And certainly that is a huge focus. That's what we're going to be talking about today. But those of you who are wishing to improve your debating skills, if you think about it, you debate constantly on an everyday basis. If you have a decision and you and your friends are trying to decide what should we go do for fun tonight, and somebody wants to go see a movie and somebody else doesn't, and you have a discussion there, that's debating. We are constantly debating. How should I spend the next hour of my life? Should I study? Should I read a book? Should I watch TV? Those are debates that you have with yourself or with other people. So you are constantly engaging in this activity. And the real reason that we do that is exactly as you said, we always want to find the best possible option of what we should be doing or what we should be thinking. So that is ultimately why we debate. No.
Okay, so we have a couple of, there's just some basics that we all need to know. So we've gone over what is debate. In the form of debate that we'll do, it'll be partner debate. So you will have someone with you, and you'll be against another team, and you will be arguing about which side is correct on the topic. And the topic for the class in the workshop is genetically modified organisms. And so it's resolved, which means that we definitely should do it, that the Japanese government should prohibit the import, production, and sale of all genetically modified foods. That is on the one that has all the articles in it. So it's the one that has all the articles in it, and it's where it says resolved on the very, very first page. This is what we're going to be talking about when you get the chance to stand up and do the debating. This is what you'll be talking about. So that is what is called a proposition. It's the topic, what we're supposed to be talking about, what each team one team will say, basically, yes, this should happen, and that would be the affirmative, which we'll get into, and the negative would say, no, that shouldn't happen, and then give their reasons as to why. So, depending on where you're debating and everything, this topic could change. So it's whatever the tournament decides to have you debate on. Does that make sense? Questions? Okay.
So, for the purpose of this workshop and for the focus of policy debate, you will be given a proposition or resolution that will look something like this, that the government or some governing body should or should not do some action, take some action. So specifically, the Japanese government should prohibit the import, production, and sale of all genetically modified foods. policy debate, as Shanna just said, consists of an affirmative team and a negative team. The affirmative team is tasked with taking this resolution, presenting a policy or some type of plan that embodies this resolution, and defending that plan, explaining, yes, this should be done, and here are reasons why. The negative team then kind of has two jobs. They need to explain that that plan, this policy, doesn't fix those problems that the affirmative talked about. That when the affirmative says these good things will happen, that's not true. They also should try to prove that not only does it not solve those problems, it also causes something bad to happen. There's something that we call offense, an offensive reason as to why the plan should not be adopted. Okay, so that is what the negative does. You will get to see a demonstration debate between Shanna and myself on this topic before you all have your full-on debates. Shanna will represent the affirmative and I will be negative, and it will be a lot of fun.
So the way that you prove the resolution to either be yes, that it's a good thing, or no, it's a bad thing, is through what's called stock issues. And stock issues are those things that you have to be able to say, this is my full argument, my full affirmative, this is why the Japanese government should do the topic. Okay, so there's a couple of them. So the first one is, it's called significance. So what that means is you have to show that it's a big thing, not something itty bitty little. It has to be something big. And that's what we're solving for, is some big problem, something that is very large, not small. And so as the affirmative, so the one that is saying this is, yes, we should do this, that's what they have to do, okay? So the next one is the harms. This one's really easy. What are the bad things? Why is it a problem? Why do we need to solve it? Do any of you off the top of your head, for genetically modified foods, can you think of anything bad and a reason we wouldn't want them in Japan? What would you think, possibly? Health problems? Yeah, so not having GMOs would mean we have less health problems. Anything else that you could think of, possibly? It's kind of hard when you haven't read the literature, I know. But it would be, let's take the topic of smoking?
Yeah.
Smoking.
Sure.
What are some harms that come with smoking? Bad things that happen. What can you think of? Cancer?
Second-hand smoke.
Yeah, secondhand smoke. So that's what you're looking at. Those bad things that come from the actual topic. Does this make sense?
So, again, the way the affirmative, so if our resolution were the Japanese government should prohibit smoking, okay, the way the affirmative would work with that is, just as Shanna said, they would establish these reasons why smoking shouldn't be allowed, because of health reasons, because of secondhand smoke issues, etc. Those are called, satisfying the harms, or those are advantages to enacting the plan. Right? So if we ban smoking through the Japanese government, we have the advantages of curbing smoking, or curbing cancer a little bit, eliminating secondhand smoke. The negative then says, hey, what about all the bad things that are going to happen if you ban smoking? What about all the companies that sell cigarettes, that sell tobacco, that need that money in order to survive, in order to give people jobs? What happens to those companies if smoking is banned? They go away, they get hurt, those jobs are lost, that money is gone. So that's a pretty big reason maybe why we should keep smoking around, right? So that is when we get into this debate of harms, advantages, or for the negative, a disadvantage of enacting the plan. things like the tobacco industry collapsing. So those are what we mean when we say harms, okay?
So it's both a negative and something the affirmative does. It's one of those ones that both of them do. Does that make sense? At least a little bit? Okay. All right. Inherency. It's a big, scary word. Even English speaking, we don't like it. What it means is what is happening right now. What is it that is either A, not if there's a law that's enacted that we need to get rid of that law, or it is, so for this topic, it would be that while the prefectures in Japan don't allow for the production of GMOs, you can't grow GMOs in the prefectures of Japan, the government of Japan has not done anything. So our inherency is that the Japanese government isn't doing anything to stop it. So it's just what's going on in the world. Does that make sense?
You won't be able to on this topic because we picked a resolution that does have inherency. But in some topics, you'll see affirmative teams present plans that aren't inherent. And what that means is simply whatever their plan is, it's already been done. So for example, in the United States, you can't smoke in restaurants in public. Okay, so if somebody came up to me and I was negative and they had the plan, the United States government should ban smoking in public restaurants, I would say, you aren't inherent, your plan has already been done. There's no reason to have this debate. Okay.
So you as the affirmative, you have to have inherency to be able to win. You can lose the round on not having any, not showing that there is something that's stopping your plan from happening, or that your plan is not currently happening. Because if you think about it, if the plan's already happening, right? If we're already doing it, can I argue what the bad things are going to happen when we do the plan if it's already happening? Kind of, but not really. Because it's already occurring. So they could just get up and say, well, that bad thing's not going to happen because it's not happening now. And we're doing the plan. So obviously, plan's a good idea. So the inherency is there to make sure that everyone has something that they can say for their side of the debate. Does this make sense?
This is the most important one for policy debate, I think.
Yes, solvency is the most important. This is the one you have to make sure you have. And it is the action you want to take. Does it solve or fix the problem? You just have to prove that it does. So for the alcohol and vending machines example, we would say that our solvency is that the ID would tell the machine that I am old enough to drink the alcohol, so it wouldn't dispense to young children who don't know any better, that think they're buying a Coca-Cola. So our solvency would be the ID card solves the problem. Does that make sense? So for this topic, what we would want to say is that prohibiting or stopping or not allowing it to happen is what will solve the health risks that come with GMOs, or will solve the the allowing small farmers to be able to grow their rice instead of importing rice from somewhere else. What the negative would do, so that's the affirmative. The affirmative says, I'm a fantastic plan. I solve all of these bad problems, right? The negative says, no, you don't. They say that for some reason you're missing something, or that it's not enough to solve the problem. So with the ID card example, the negative could say that a little kid could get a fake one or take their parents or something and be able to buy the alcohol with that. So you're not solving the problem because there's ways around it. Does that make sense? Okay.
So these are our stock issues, and this is where most debates revolve. Okay, most policy debates for both the affirmative and the negative. Okay, all right. And again, even if we do move on to a different topic, if you think of a question about one of these or anything else that we've talked about, feel free to raise your hand and we'll jump back.
Yes.
Okay. So we're just building from ground zero. So.
All right.